Hello, I'm Laura. I'm a librarian in the Information Technology Department at Mercer County Library System. And today I'd like to talk to you about two databases that will be helpful in your journey to select a college, to get into the college of your choice, and to prepare for your future career. So we're going to take a look at Learning Express Library and Ferguson's Career Guidance Center, two databases which are essentially set up for job seekers, but that have been expanded recently to include information for those attempting to get into college initially out of high school, or for returning students who are trying to get into college perhaps later in life. There's also in both of them areas that are geared towards postgraduate work. They also have internship listings and grants and fellowship information. So all the way through postdoctoral, in some cases, there's information there. So what we're going to take a look at is on our database page, which you can get to from our website, which is www.mcl.org. And what you'll look for is in our menu bar at the top, you want to look at resources. And underneath the resources, you should have all available databases. And that will bring you to this page. You can also find a link to this page on our virtual branch page, which you can find under branches, or you can find a link to on our main page. On the virtual branch page, you'll see a link that will be for all databases. The databases are arranged alphabetically, and again, we're looking for Learning Express Library and Ferguson's Career Guidance Center. One thing I'm going to point out is Learning Express Library actually has core areas or a series of centers that are assembled to make the database complete. And we do have links to those outside of the main link to Learning Express Library. So for example, the college admissions test preparation area and the career preparation area are right here. What you could do is if you know which module you need or center you need, you can click on that directly. If not, we'll keep scrolling down. We'll see, here's the link for Ferguson's Career Guidance Center. And as I go further down, then I will come across the Learning Express Library. Now, note that we've made videos prior to this one regarding these two databases. They appear as a full overview of Learning Express Library. So you'll see that when we get into that database, there are other centers that are not related to doing a college search or applying to college. So if you do see something that's of interest to you that we don't cover in this video, by all means, view that video as well. The same with Ferguson's Career Guidance Center. These are both the career areas in this particular set of databases we go over in a resources for job seekers video. So be aware that those are there as well. Learning Express Library, when we click on it, we get to this page. Be aware with most of our online databases, if you're using them from home, you may be asked for your library barcode number. I do know Ferguson's asks for that. What you want to do is enter in the barcode or the number, below the barcode on the back of your library card. This will be a 14-digit number, and you'll want to enter in all 14 digits without any spaces. When you do get to Learning Express Library, you'll see at the top, on this blue bar at the top, you'll see Home, and this will usually say register or log in. It's a very good idea to register if you're going to be using this for a lot of searching or doing some college admissions test prep. The reason for that is because if you log in, you'll see one option you'll get when you scroll over your name is there's a My Center area. And if I click on that, you'll see that any tools I've been using or anything that I've wanted to save or any tests I've taken or any computer courses I've started, they'll all show up in here. So if I want to go back and look at anything, you will be able to go and refer to it just by clicking on My Center and seeing where you had last left off. So for example, in the test area, this is one section where if you were working on practice SATs or ACTs, you would be able to come in here and pick up where you had left off on your previous either tutorial session or taking a practice test. And the tutorials are right here. There's also ebooks. So previously, when I had taught this class, we had downloaded the U.S. Constitution in 15 minutes a day. For the purpose of this class, I downloaded the SAT Math Success in 20 minutes a day, and I'll show you how to locate that. But before I do that, I will open this up to be able to show you how the ebooks work. Before I do that, I want to point out a couple of other areas down here. The last three boxes in the My Center are your career dashboard, and you'll notice there's occupational matches here. There's an interest matcher and a skills matcher. You can also save job searches, and even though it's listed as a job search, be aware that there are internships listed in there as well. So if you are indeed looking for an internship, whether coming out of high school or you're in college already and you're interested in an internship, you should probably check in the Career Center to see which internships are currently listed. Okay, the other thing in here is these occupational matches. I'll go over when we get to that center how you can take a couple of quick quizzes, maybe about 40 or 60 multiple choice questions that will assess what your skills and your interests are. So if you're not sure what you might want to major in or not sure what kind of career you would be interested in pursuing, and you want to try and figure that out a little bit before you start applying for colleges, you could go in and take those quick quizzes and get an assessment of where your interests may lie. The great thing about that is that section also does provide career outlooks and career information in terms of what's needed in skill sets, what kind of education background you'll need, and make some suggestions as far as what to look for in a school and what schools may be appropriate for your particular career. The other thing you'll see is we'll look at the school finder and the scholarship finder. The school finder will allow you to match to a 2-year or 4-year degree granting university or college. So we will look at how you can do searches based on everything from just a quick geographical search to getting into a more detailed search in terms of what kind of requirements you may need to meet for that school. The other thing is the scholarship finder. Now, even though it says scholarship, that's one of those areas where you're going to find your grants, your research opportunities, your internships, your fellowships. So it's a pretty comprehensive database. Okay. So before we get into looking at the centers, I did mention these ebooks, and I had previously downloaded the SAT Math Success in 20 Minutes a Day. Now, any one of these things, if you want to remove it from your list, you can delete it. If you'd like to download it, you can go ahead and click Download, and you'll get this pop-up, which will ask you if you want to open it or save it. You can save these locally. You get the full book. You don't get just an abstract or a summary. You'll see it's in full color. And once I've opened it, because I'm using a web browser, I will get all the tools that are afforded to me in the web browser. The browser I'm using is Microsoft Edge, which means that I do have options to do things like read aloud. I can add notes, I can print pages, I can save different things, and I can also search the entire book. So be aware that once you've downloaded the ebook, it's a fully functional PDF that you can then manipulate as needed in terms of what's available to you in your browser or in your PDF reader. And so as we're going through, we'll see this is just a set of practice tests for the Math SAT. Okay, so back to Learning Express Library. If I hit the Home button, that's where I'll see my centers listed. Before I go into the college admissions and test prep, I want to point out the school center. And the reason I want to do that is there is a high school area here. So if you need tutorials in any particular area of study, we do have everything from technology skills and the usual math and English, but they also have social sciences and science, as well as history and geography. So you will be able to brush up on your subject area for that. And that's great if you need some quick tutorials and don't need to actually hire a tutor, but just want to brush up on some skills and improve where you are, maybe ahead of the SAT, or you maybe have taken a practice test in here and been flagged that you do need to go and review some concepts. This is where you could go and do that. Okay, as for the college admissions test prep, this area you can see we have the ACT, the SAT, PSAT, AP exams, TOEFL, and there is a section on writing a college admissions essay. So I'm going to take a look at the SAT area. And when we go to these different areas inside the centers, you'll see we usually have a few things that are available to you. In some cases, there's a little bit more information like flashcard sets or whatnot. But the majority of these areas have ebooks, and this is that math ebook we just looked at. They usually also have practice tests, which can be taken in one of three ways. We'll take a look at a practice test in a minute, and test preparation tutorials. So I'm going to click on the Introduction to the SAT Test tutorial, and it does tell you it's a tutorial. So if I want to click Start, I will do that, and we shall go into the tutorial. Usually the tutorials are either a course-driven or a video-driven module. This one's fairly short. There's only one unit, and you'll go through the tutorial just by clicking on the Start the tutorial. Once you're in the tutorial, you can go through and use the navigation on the left to jump between lessons or chapters. So, whoops. As you're clicking through, you'll see the pages change, and it's basically, this one is a menu-driven tutorial, so there's no video involved, and you're just going to get short little articles. This one, again, is just an introduction to the SAT, so it's basically telling you what the SAT is, what it's used for, what to expect when you take the exam, and how it's scored. So I'm going to go back. I don't want to save this, so I'm going to go ahead and close without saving. If you did want to save something you're working on, just click the Save button, and that's what's going to show up again in your My Center area. Okay, so back to the SAT prep area. That was the tutorial, and like I said, some of them are menu-driven courses, others are actually video courses. So back to the practice tests, though. Each practice test, you can either do sections or you can do a complete test. There's also essay practices in here. I'm just going to go ahead and click on one of the reading practice tests. Usually there's multiple tests available. You don't necessarily have to take them in order, but they are numbered. And what I'll do is I'll start one. And as I mentioned, there's usually 3 avenues that you can use to take the test. You'll get a little blurb on the left about what's involved in the test. On the right, you get the details. So this particular test you can expect to take 65 minutes is what the maximum time is you can use to take this test. And there are 52 questions. The 3 options you have, you can simulate it, and the test basically is as if you were taking the test in a live testing environment. You're given the 65 minutes, and when you get to that, you're done. You can do a practice area where you can take the test, and it's not quite set to the 65 minutes. You can take longer if you need to, and at the end you'll be given a full explanation of your answers and be allowed to see where you had made some mistakes. The learner path is actually one where you're not being either graded, or I should say scored, and you're also not being timed. So what you'll do is you'll work through each of those 52 questions one at a time. If you get it correct, you'll be told you're correct, and you'll be given a short explanation as to why that's the correct answer. And of course, if you get it incorrect, it will tell you why it was incorrect, and it will offer you suggestions as to where you can go for further help if you need it. After you've completed the test, you will have the option to score it, and you will also be given at the end of the scoring the rundown of what problems you had incorrect, as well as an overview or a summary of what areas you may need to do some extra work to improve your skills. The test areas are the same regardless of which of these college prep tests you're going to be taking. So regardless of whether it's the ACT or an AP exam for a course you're currently taking in school, or you need to take the TOEFL, they're all set up the same way, and they all offer the same three options for either doing the simulated test, the learner path, or to do the practice test. The last area under the college admissions test preparation area is the college admissions essay writing area. And basically this is just one little link, which is 2 ebooks. So these 2 ebooks you can download, and you will get some tips for how to write your admissions essay, and also for how to proofread and revise it. And this ebook It does say 20 minutes a day, so even though it's a full ebook, if you work on it 20 minutes a day, it's geared towards improving your college admissions essay skills. Okay, the last two areas are the college preparation area and the job and career accelerator. I'm going to start with the career preparation area. This area will give you a listing of different careers, and then the rest of this you'll see are entrance exams for certain types of professional entry level. So, for example, if you're going into the nursing field, once you've completed your schooling and you would like to be certified as a nurse, you'd have to take the nursing exams. What you're interested in here is learning more about a career. Within this area, there are sections for certain careers that you can look for. So if you're interested in being a social work caseworker, you can go ahead and click on that, and you're going to get an ebook which is going to give you all kinds of information about what you need to become a caseworker. What kind of education requirements, any kind of extra training, and you'll get information on what to expect in terms of salaries, benefits, what the career, or the job outlook is, whether there's expected to be a need for a caseworker, or if whether we're pretty flat and there's a steady employment. So you're going to get an idea of what trending careers are out there, what's needed, and all that kind of stuff by looking at these quick career preparation guides. The other section is the the job and career accelerator. And in here, there is the Find a Career Match area. And that's where we have those two tests that I mentioned earlier. You can take a quick test of, I think it's 40 questions to match your skills. And basically all the questions are the same. You either have the option to agree or disagree, and there's 5 options between agreeing and disagreeing, including neutral. So it will ask you things like, do you like to work with pets? Are you artistic? That kind of stuff. And when you're done matching your skills, it'll give you a list of several career options that match your skills. So if you're not quite sure what you'd be interested in, but you have a skill set, it might give you some suggestions for careers that you should consider. The interest matcher works the same way. I believe this one has closer to 60 questions, and it does the same thing. You grade your interest in a particular area based on you agree, or you strongly agree to you strongly disagree. So you'll be asked things like, you think you would enjoy working as a police officer. You can either agree, disagree, or maybe you're neutral. So that's basically what you will do. You'll just go through a whole bunch of questions asking you that kind of stuff and get an assessment at the end, which will give you, again, a list of suggested careers. Both lists also give you results set up as primary results and secondary results. So you'll get a list of careers that match your skills or your interests on a primary level. There's a lot of matches there between your questions and the career. But then you'll have secondary ones, which are other careers you might consider based on how you answered the questions. Okay, the other thing is there's an Explore Occupations area. And basically this is going to give you some ideas on tools. It's going to give you some tools on how to find different jobs that fit these particular areas. So again, you're looking at things like in-demand occupations. If you want to work in an environmental area where you're going to be working in a green career, there's some special tools here where you can, again, go through some quick quizzes, do some tutorials. Looking at the occupation groups one, you're basically going to just be able to browse through and see what's available in different things. So if you want to work in human services, for example, you'll get a list of what's available within human service. So let's say you want to work as a locker room, coat room, and dressing room attendant. It will give you, again, an overview of what to expect within this career in terms of salary, the projected growth, how many current openings there are, and the idea of, and I'm going to give you an idea of the number of people currently currently employed. There's also a drop down. This is the overall United States, but you can do a drop down and see where different states lie within some of these areas. There's not always complete data for each state, so just be aware that the overview is probably the most complete option you're going to have here. But then these other areas are the ones I had mentioned earlier. So basically, you're going to look at what kind of tasks are involved in this particular job, and then you're going to see the wage trends and all that. And I had mentioned earlier, you've got an education and training areas as well. And if you think this might be something you're interested in but aren't sure it's exactly right, but you like the particular occupational field, you can see related occupations. Okay, so I'm going to pick a different one. Oops, I don't know why it went back, but we're going to pick a different one out of here so we can take a look at, we'll do finance here. So a budget analyst. I'm pretty sure this one's going to say you need a college degree. Okay, so it does tell you most require a 4-year bachelor's degree, but some do not. Sometimes what it'll do under this education area, it'll also tell you what majors you should consider if you're interested in working in this career. So some of them, it doesn't really necessarily need to be a specific major. I'm kind of surprised this one doesn't say that you should probably major in economics or accounting or political science, because a budget analyst usually does have to do some sort of math and computation in terms of finance. So you would want one of those finance degrees. But that just gives you an idea of what's available in the Explore Occupations area. And like I said, this was the general occupation group one, which is going to give you an overview of all of them, but there were some of those other areas too, such as the military to civilian. So if you're considering going into the service prior to going to college, and you're not sure which kind of career you should prepare for, you can take a look in that area and see which kinds of careers lend themselves to transitioning from a military career to a civilian career. And again, there were the green jobs as well as the trending jobs. So this is going to give you, like I said, the occupational group is going to give you everything, but then you would also be able to pinpoint rising or trending careers as well, and some other specialties. Note that you can save the occupation card, and again, if you save the occupation card, it's going to show up in the My Center area. All right, I'm going to go back to Career and Job Accelerator. We had looked at the tools to find a career match, and we explored an occupation. I mentioned earlier that there is a database here where you can find internships and jobs. So be aware that that's here. It's basically an aggregator, so it's pulling from places like Monster and Indeed, and any kind of other areas that have bulk job listings. Then we've got the School and Scholarship Finder. So in here, when we click on the School and Scholarship Finder, we're going to see again two tools. We're going to start with this Open the School Finder here. And the first thing you're going to be asked is, are you applying for a 2- or 4-year program or graduate? So I'm going to go ahead and say 2- or 4-year. A couple of things you can do. You can do quick match, you can do an advanced search, or you can do a keyword. I'm going to show you the quick match because for a lot of people that's actually a pretty good starting point. If you find that you need to refine it a little bit, you can. You can select regions, or you can go by state. So if you decide you are just looking at the Northeast and the West, you can do that. And then you just go forward or backward as needed. So now you're being asked, are you looking for a 2- or 4-year school? So I'm going to go for a 4-year school. Now you have the selectivity rating. And for each one of these selectivity ratings, you're going to get an idea of what you need to, what benchmark you need to meet in order to get into one of these schools. So, you're going to see GPA, SAT scores, ACT scores, And you'll also get an idea of how many applicants typically get selected to these schools. So if you wanted a traditional and a selective, you can choose those, and you can go on to next. Now you have the option to pick majors. This drop-down will allow you to select by checking off the boxes at least or up to 5 majors. So you can just kind of go through here and pick different things. Oops. Okay. So I picked quite a wide variety here just to give us a good list of schools. All right, so basically we've now, based on all of those criteria, reached a search result of 454 schools. Of course, you could narrow it further if you wanted to. A couple of things you can do here is you can download or you can print the entire school list. Each one of these is a hot link. You do have the option to save, and I saved one already just for the heck of it to show you an example. And we're going to go into different ones just so I can give you an idea of what we're going to see in each one of these. So we're going to do Arizona State University. We're going to take a look at the West Campus. It's actually not a good one to show you because it doesn't look like it has as much data as it could. All right, we'll do Cal State Sacramento. All right, so this is a good one because it's giving you a complete record. And in here, we're going to see the application deadline is listed. You're going to see your tuition and fee schedule for both in-state and out-of-state students and how many students typically receive aid. You're also just going to get the basics, how you can contact the school and what the school's website is. Within the area down here, you're going to find a comprehensive profile about this school. So you're going to get an information overview, how many students are there, how many faculty, what the faculty to student ratio is, and also the demographic profile so you can get an idea of what kind of students are there in terms of the demographics and what kind of housing and programs, library information, the basics here that are covered in terms of student life. You also have a cost and financial aid area. So there is contact information for the financial aid office, as well as which forms you would need to fill out. And again, you're going to get an overview of the tuition, the fees, room and board, what you could estimate you need to budget for books and supplies. And again, whether or not, or how many people approximately that are attending this school get aid. You have your admissions information, including the admissions office information. So you know your application deadline. You have an idea of what kinds of application fees you might have, whether or not you can defer your admission, what's basically expected of you when you try to apply to this particular school. We also have the testing area. So this is going to give you an overview again of the score ranges for the ACT and the SAT. So if you are taking either one of those tests and you know where your scores lie, you'll see in here what your chances are or what your percentages are of students that are scoring within the same range as you. The last two things, you're going to get a list of the majors at this particular school, and you're going to get an overview of the athletics. So you're going to know which sports the particular college competes in, and if so, what division of the NCAA they're competing in. Okay, so that is the school finder. And again, you can save your school matches and then go back and refer to them later. So I'm going back to the Job and Career Accelerator. And this time we're going to look at the Scholarship Finder. And the Scholarship Finder works very similarly to the one we just looked at. You're basically able to put in a keyword. You can put in a GPA if you'd like. You also will pick your academic year. So if you're not currently enrolled in a high school or a college, You have that option to check off, especially if you're returning to college. Perhaps you've been in the careers, been in a profession or in the workforce for a while, and you've already been out of high school for a few years. You would want that one. If not, you're going to pick what level of school you are in currently. And as I mentioned, this one is going to provide us not only scholarship opportunities and financial aid, but you're going to be seeing internships, fellowships, and basically grants and other opportunities for postgraduate study as well. So, assuming you're a high school senior, you can put that information in. Then you can put in your SAT composite. Let's say, and an ACT. You also have the option to select the award type. You don't have to fill all of these out. You can leave some of them blank. So if you're not sure if you're just looking for a scholarship or a grant or a loan, whatever it is you need, but you can see tuition waivers are in here, loans, all that kind of stuff. So you do have a lot of options. If you're looking specifically for a few, you can check them off. If you're not sure what you want, just leave it and hit the search. Now, we found 7,231 scholarships on the criteria we used. Again, you have the option to save it, and it will be in your My Center area, or you can just go ahead and click on the scholarship, and you'll get, again, an overview. Who is eligible to apply, the application dates, and the expected amount that you would get, and how many scholarships they're giving away. So basically, this is one area where you can print the information, save it, you can download the information as a PDF. Either way, or any way you do it, you're going to be able to locate scholarships that you may be eligible for and that you can apply for. And again, we saw that list was pretty comprehensive, and that it had, in addition to scholarships, it had grants and financial aid. So that's the Learning Express library option for helping you get into college. The other one we're going to take a look at is the Ferguson's Career Guidance Center. And this one is very similar to the other one, so I'm not really going to go in depth. I'm just going to tell you that it really works very similarly. You see at the top we can search, and you have the option to search Ferguson's or job and internship postings. They're pretty much pulling from the same database for the jobs and internships, so you'll find those in there as well. Another thing on this particular database is on the right-hand side, you have expert advice. So you're going to see articles that are written from people within a field, whether it's they're writing from an academic standpoint, where they're talking about as a college admissions officer what you need to get in to a particular school, or if it's within an industry, you might see an overview of careers that are on the rise and perhaps healthcare or whatever. You'll also see there's a career interest assessment test here as well, so you could take that. And just note, when you get out of school, this is a good place to come back to because they do have tips for recent graduates. The industries and careers area, you can explore careers in here quite the same way as you did in the previous one, where you're going to get an overview of the trends that are going through that particular field, whether or not there are a lot of openings, what you would need in terms of study, and what you could expect for salary. And then this area, once you're out, you can launch your career. But here, planning your education, this is the area where we're really interested in looking at. The undergraduate and graduate school area is very similar to what we just looked at in the Learning Express library. The only thing I really want to point out with this one is you can, of course, search the same way you just did in Learning Express, but this one adds in specifically nursing schools as well as vocational and technical schools. So you're looking at about 5,000 more schools that are in this particular database that are geared more towards the vocations and nursing. So this isn't necessarily looking at 2- and 4-year colleges or postgraduate work. The other thing is this has a lot of tools that we didn't see in the other one that are really worth pointing out to you, such as the college planning timeline. I'm going to go ahead and click More Resources. I believe we get a full list of the articles that are in here. So these are really great places to turn if you're, not sure what you should be doing at what point in time during your high school career in order to plan for applying for college. There's also guides on the financial aid aspects, how to choose a major, how to choose a college, and these other areas here, such as writing the college admissions and scholarship essays. You're going to get full articles on this as well. So while these are not full ebooks with hundreds of pages like we saw in the other one, it is going to give you an overview on a very specific topic. And once we're in the article, you can use the tools to the right to either save the article, email it to yourself, you can print it. You can also change the font size if you just want to read it on the page as well. But it does give you, in this particular case, a lot of tips on how to write a college admission or a scholarship essay. And there will be other information in here as well, such as how to apply for a loan, how to get into a work-study program, special areas for students with disabilities. And when you're in college, if you're not sure if you want to go to graduate school, there are guides there as well, that will lay out whether or not graduate school is necessary for your chosen career, whether or not it's good fit for you, whether you should stop at a master's degree or continue on for a PhD. So there's a lot of information in here in terms of not just planning for a high school student, but again, once you're actually in college, to continue your studies and to have an option to look into exploring postgraduate work as well. And again, the school search options are going to show up on the right. And there is also a financial aid directory. So you're going to see, again, those options for the 4 school areas: undergraduate, graduate, nursing, and the VOTEC. But there's also a list of financial aid information in here. So the financial aid directories, it's not quite a search like we had seen in the other database, but it does give you a breakdown, again, if you're looking for graduate or undergraduate, and within the field you're looking at. So if you're looking for funding for a social science major that's going to graduate school, you can see an area where you're going to get a list of scholarship options or financial aid options within that career. Okay, well, hopefully this was helpful to you, and good luck in your search for a college and a major.